In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to get started in Teamfight Tactics, the auto battler from League of Legends. If you've maybe played your first couple games, you know there's a lot of systems and things that maybe you don't understand entirely, and it can be kind of hard or overwhelming to really get a hand of it during game while you're trying to make decisions. And so I'm going to try and break down those systems easily for you by walking you through a game, and then as everything kind of like approaches us, explaining what's going on. And hopefully this will be that if you ever start watching other tutorial videos, such as how to play certain comps or how to play certain units, it'll give you more of a foundation so that when you start playing the game a little bit more, it'll be easier to understand everything that's going on and you won't be as confused or lost. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, when you start playing TFT, or when you start a game, you're going to jump into what's called the carousel. And this is going to be a little roulette of different units. You also will be able to pick your very first item component in the game. Every round is going to be composed of a carousel and a current of player versus player rounds, and then a current of player versus environment rounds, such as right here. You can always see your stage up here at the top middle left. Stage 1 is a little different in that you'll do a carousel, and then you'll play 3 rounds against minions. These minions will drop little orbs, and the orbs can be filled with either more item components, gold, or units. In stage 1, you'll also come across your first augment. These kind of affect the rest of the game. You'll get 3 of them throughout the entire game on stages 1-4, stages 3-3, and stages 4-6. For the purpose of this video, we're just going to do Knife's Edge, which adds 30 attack damage to any units that start in the front 2 rows. So all of these 3 units standing in the front row now gain bonus attack damage. For now, I want to talk about the shop. Every round you're going to gain gold, and how much gold you get is going to be based off of a few different factors. You're going to get a basic income amount that I believe is 4 every game. Eventually it might go up to 5. That you will also get interest. Interest is based off of how much gold you have at the end of the round. If at the end of the round you have 10 gold, you will gain 1 interest. This goes all the way up to 50 gold, where you will gain 5 extra gold every round. Like if I were to sell these 3 units, we're going to get up to 10, and we'll gain 1 interest every round. You also gain income based off of if you're win streaking or lose streaking. This is based off of if you've won several rounds in a row or lost several rounds in a row. So if you've won the last 2 combats, you will gain an extra gold. If you've won the last 4 combats, you'll gain 2 extra gold. And if you won the last 5 or more, you will get 3 extra gold at the end of the round. Now, there's one last way to gain gold, and that is if you've won the round you currently are fighting, then you will gain 1 extra gold. This is basically giving you an incentive to maybe not go for the full interest and spend a little bit of money so that you win that combat, but you don't entirely lose out on economy. With gold, you can buy units out of the shop. You can also buy experience, or you can refresh your shop in order to buy more units or different units than what you already had in your shop. When you get 3 of the same unit, you'll see this little 2-star in the shop, and they will glue together into 1 mega unit. This unit will have bonus health. You can see down here at the bottom right that Darius at 1 star would do 200 damage with his spell, but at 2 star, which we have, is going to be 275, and at 3 star he would do 350. Yes, there is a 3-star version of every unit, and that means you need to get 9 of them to glue together, because you have to have 3 different 2-star units all together. So you'll 3-star units pretty often, and it will make the unit just way stronger. Now, why would you buy experience? What experience does is determines your level. Level does 2 things. The first one is it changes how many units you're actually able to have on the board. When you're level 3, you're able to have 3 units on the board. When you're level 4, you're able to have 4, like we do have now. Now, also as you level up, the different cost of units in your shop is going to change. Through the magic of editing over here, I'm going to put the different odds chances based off of what your level is. But generally, the lower level you are, you're going to get 1 cost and 2 cost units. But the higher level you are, the more that will scale more towards 3 costs, 4 costs, and 5 costs. Now, in general, if they are all 1 star, a 5 cost is infinitely better than a 1 cost. This becomes a little bit more blurry when you start mixing in traits as well as items, but a 2-star 4 cost is generally better than a 2-star 1 cost. Now, if you right click on a unit, it will show you all of their stats. You can see Nar here has 130 attack damage. That means every time he attacks someone, it'll do 130 damage, which will be reduced by how much armor they have. If they have more armor, the less physical damage they take. You can also see their magic resist, which is how much damage they reduce from getting magically attacked. Their attack speed is how many attacks they will do per second. You will see their attack range. This Gnar can attack from 3 spaces or 3 hexes away from him, as well as their critical strike chance, the chances that their physical damage will do critical strike, not their magic, only physical, as well as critical strike damage, which is the multiplier for how much damage they will do if they do critical strike. For Gnar, he will do 130% damage every time he gets a critical strike, which will be 1/4 of the time. Now, ability power is a little interesting, only because it's not exactly exactly how much magic damage your unit does, but it affects whatever their spell does. Now every unit has a spell, and the spell is cast whenever their mana bar hits full. For Gnar, he takes 80 mana, and he gains 10 every time he hits someone, and I believe he gains 6 or so every time you get hit. Now, every unit has a different spell, and understanding what it does is critical to understanding what that unit is for. Gnar transforms into Mega Gnar for the rest of combat. Mega Gnar throws a boulder at the farthest enemy with 30 hexes, dealing 252 physical damage. Now, that means it's based off of how much attack damage he has. How you know what ability power does is based off of what is purple in this little section. So when he goes into Mega Gnar form, gains 550 health, but this is entirely based off of his ability power. If that 100% ability power were to go up to 200%, he would gain 1000 health whenever he transformed, which is not bad at all. Now, I've kind of been doing items in the background without really talking about it on the footage yet, but clearly you can see some of his stats have changed because of our items, and that's based off of all the different item components we've achieved off throughout the battle. Now, every item component can be mixed with another item component to create a full item. Right now, we have a Titan's Resolve, which is a full item. It's a bow plus a chain vest. We have a Gwinsu's Rage Blade, which is a large rod plus a bow. And we have this BF sword right here, which passively gives 10 attack damage. But if we mix it with this glove right here, it makes an Infinity Edge. Now earlier, we mentioned that his critical strike chance was 25%, but this Infinity Edge brings it all the way up to 100%. So now every time he attacks someone, it does critical strike damage, which you can see is infinitely more valuable than just giving 10 attack damage. This is part of the basics of combat. Generally, in combat, we are asking ourselves two questions. One, where is our damage coming from? Right now, Gnar is doing 140 damage. He can do a critical strike, so every time he attacks someone, it does actually 140% of that 140. Rage Blade makes him attack faster. Every time he attacks, he gets 6% faster. And Titan's Resolve gives him +2 attack damage every time he attacks, up to 25 times. So casually increasing his attack damage. That is where our damage is coming from. The second question is, how are we stopping them from killing us? Which is not always easily answered, especially right now because I'm talking and we just lost. But generally, a lot of these answers are going to come from one of two ways. Unit spells, which every time he throws a boulder, he does more damage, which is awesome, and traits. Every unit has a set of traits, at least 2, but they can be up to 3. Poppy here is a Yordle bodyguard. Darius here is a Syndicate bodyguard. Over here on the left, you might have seen this little tray. This is every trait that you see from one of the units on the board. A couple of them are grayed out, some of them are more bronze, and then one of them is gold here. What this is if the trait itself is active or not. Now, because we have 2 bodyguard, we meet the first threshold in order to activate Bodyguard. And what it does is bodyguards have increased armor. Shortly after combat begins, bodyguards gain a shield and taunt adjacent enemies, forcing them to attack the bodyguard. They get 80 armor plus 200 shield if there are 2 bodyguards. If there are 4 bodyguards, there is 160 armor and 400 shield. At 6 bodyguards, there's 250 armor and 800 shield. This helps define them as tanks in the game. They are our shields, they are our protectors, they help us not die. And the traits from your units are going to help you define which units are going to be your protectors and which ones are going to be your attackers. Gnar is a striker. What striker does is you gain 30 attack damage, making him even stronger. And because of this, we know that Darius, who's a bodyguard and gains armor, is probably going to be a tank and supposed to soak up a lot of damage, and Gnar is meant to deal a lot of damage. That's his entire purpose. And reading both a unit's ability as well as their traits will help you identify whether a unit is supposed to be an attacker or a defender. The last thing that will really increase your effectiveness of your units is items. Knowing which items pair together and how to build them will greatly help you out a lot. Here we have an Irelia who's a striker and does a lot of damage. With the Last Whisper on her, when we critically strike a unit, their armor is reduced by 70% for the next 5 seconds. If you pair this with an Infinity Edge, which will make us almost always critically strike, then every time we attack someone, they are going to reduce their armor. Mix this with the Titan's Resolve, which can increase her attack damage, and after 25 stacks will give her more armor and resistance, makes her a little bit harder to kill as a carry, meanwhile also being able to do massive damage to everyone else on the field. Now your level cap will always max out at level 9, unless you have an augment that allows you to change it to level 10. Everything in this game is changeable by an augment, which is why I didn't delve into them. Pretty much every concept can be touched by an augment and will drastically change your games from day to day, but understanding the foundation of what's going on in the game will allow you to make decisions that will allow you to understand which augments you should be picking, and it will allow you to make the best decision for you and your comp and guide you to a victory. So even though I've been spending a lot of time talking throughout this game, I was able to make a really strong Irelia that has been able to carry me to first place in this game. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it helps you guys get your start in your journey towards TFT. And if you want to get started learning some comps and some strategy, there are a couple of videos on this channel, so feel free to subscribe. But a couple of other really good resources are the channel Frobe, who I personally love. He's a great content creator and is very good at the game and very entertaining, as well as Mask Off, who has a great series called the Master This Comp series, and I admire it so much. I think it's very good, and I think it would probably help you out a lot. Anyways, I've been Muffin. You guys have been amazing, and I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.